Okay, here's a little tutorial on launch levels and pivots. Okay, launch levels. Launch levels simply refer to on a 4-hour chart like this one, or on a 1-hour chart like this one. They refer to places in the chart that had very strong pushes up, and the idea is that maybe if price reverts back to that same zone, that same area, you could have a very strong push up again. Okay, and so it's not hard, because all you really need to do in this case is, let's go to the 4-hour for a second. Okay, 4-hour chart. So it's not hard, because once you identify a launch point, okay, in this case it was Tuesday the 10th at 10 a.m., which was yesterday. What you need to do is just set a level there so you can see it on your chart, okay, at the beginning of the launch point. Okay, so that's right here. Then you just watch very carefully. If and when price comes down to it, you can put an alert on it. You can say price approaching launch point from, and I think this one was 10 at 1000 hours. Create an alert. And now when price comes down to it, you'll be alerted. So what happened here? On this launch point right here, this one right here, price came down to it, it bounced off it. But that's probably not where you want to buy it. Why? Because you want to be above the 5-minute EMA when you buy it. You don't want to be below it. That's then because resistance. See how it comes right into it and rejects? Okay, then it just like kind of goes back and forth across it. No, you want a clear push down below that point, and then a breakthrough above that point, and then a back test to that point. And in this case, the back test came. I made notes about it right here. In this case, there was news here, so that's good. News was bullish, apparently, at least in the moment that it came out. Price went up, back tested against a pivot, and that's going to be the next exercise that we talk about, our pivots. But for now, we're just talking launch points. So back tested against the pivot right here with a nice strong buyer's wick, and against the 8 EMA. Okay, both. All right, and then took off from there, went up. So that's a 4-hour launch point. Let's look at a 1-hour launch point, and then we'll look at the pivots. So I'm going to switch this to 1 hour time frame. Here is the 1-hour launch point, 33,642. Sorry, that's the same one. Oh, okay, that's the same one. I thought that I was looking at a different one before, but okay. Yeah, so basically it's the same thing. On the 1 hour, it's a little bit more obvious in terms of you've got a couple of candles here. On the 4-hour, it just shows one big candle and a wick at the top. But anyway, so that trade worked out really well. The trade went back up quite a bit, as you can see. If it was something worth hanging on to for us, then could have really made some money on it. Okay, so, and that the entry was right here. Okay, so as far as the pivots go, I wanted to show you those real quick. When I talk about pivots, usually I want to talk about them as areas where there was a very sharp drop. The same basic idea, but what was the EMA? And when price gets back above there, that's a place for a breakthrough backtest continuation trade. So this one here, typically you know, I guess maybe they're not as strong a trade, but anyway, sometimes they are. So anyway, this was a trade here. As you can see, it was a double top against the 20. And the second top, we had a nice sharp drop. So we're watching to see what happens when price comes back. And if you look at this, you can really see that it's a true pivot, because it was support, classic support becomes resistance, right? So it's a true pivot. So what do we have here? We have a situation where we have a strong breakthrough. We have a back test directly to that pivot line. I mean, it couldn't be more, you know, it couldn't be more exacting, right to the pivot line, and then a nice little bounce. So that is another type of trade that I like to keep my eyes on. And then the last trade was also, in a sense, it was a pivot. I'm looking at it on a 15-minute chart, and what I see here is I see a situation where, let's see here. What did oh, it was also another prior launch. Okay, so, sorry, not a pivot, but a prior launch. Okay, we were looking at, oh, I see the difference. Okay, this was one prior launch and this was the other prior launch. So I'm going to move this line up to here, about right here, because that's the launch area. It's a little choppy. Let me kind of get a little bit better look at it here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say this zone right here was where it really, you could say it really took off. So that's why I had this line here at 33,740, about 743. Okay, so what happened? Price came up and was wicking against it and the 200 quite a bit. It finally broke through at about 1530 roughly. Up until this point in time, we'd only been able to wick above the 200, and finally it broke through, and then it gave us a pullback to the 8, which I really like. Okay, once it gave you that pullback to the 8 and started moving up, I think, you know, at that point we're good to go, because here was the line, the prior launch line, which was, again, I just want to show you right about here. So that made a nice push up. So right now the market's closed, but as you can see, it really in a two-part move, it really moved. So, and it basically went back up to the highs of the prior, almost to the highs of that prior move, which was right up here at 33,866. Right now it's at 33,850. So that was a really nice move too. And I actually tried to get this one, but I was a little early. That happens to me a lot. I actually thought that this breakthrough, this back test, this tiny little doji, 1 minute doji, I thought that was it. So I bought it here, took it up, and then it started pulling back again, and I got out. But basically what you want to see is you want to see bodies against the key EMA that you're buying against, not a wick necessarily. This is only showing you that it's, if you put it on a line, you can, you know, the real test was here, okay? Not here, of the 8. The 8's great. And the 8's what we like to trade off. And basically, it was what I call an Adam and Eve play. So you did have price move up, and this is the Adam candle, and this is the Eve candles. Okay, so linear versus, you know, rounded. Basically, like, you know, Adam and Eve. So that's really about it. I got a phone call right here, and I missed the trade, so I couldn't keep my eyes on it and try to get in again. But that would have been a good second entry if you know, we're really believing in the trade. We really like this area of a prior launch level, and we had that positive news. We had, you know, price coming up, and you know, basically, if you look at it on a 5, you can see that it was like an ascending triangle. So it was like, it was pushing up against, you know, you could see that kind of ascending, you know, candle bodies here, you know, trending up here. Once it kind of did a double top against that level and just came back and kept trending and trending and trending up, putting in an ascending triangle, right? And then finally it broke through the 200 and pulled back to the 8, and then, you know, was able to really really muster quite a bit of strength from that point forward. So that's basically what I call a launch level. All right. So that's it for now. Hopefully this is a helpful tutorial.